Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with a very interesting set of Jurassic Park figures. In fact, it is specifically Jurassic Park 3. We have the Kaiyodo line from Jurassic Park 3. Now, sometimes I feel like that's just crazy to say because Kaiyodo making Jurassic Park toys seems just unreal to me, not something that I would have expected them to have ever done, but in fact they did for Jurassic Park 3. They had kind of like a little surprise bag sort of dinosaur toys where you could get, I think 13 there is here overall. I think there's like 12 in the regular main line, and then there's like an extra special rare version or something, which would have been the Spinosaurus skull you see right there. But I do have the entire line here, something I've been actually wanting to get a hold of for years at this point and never have had the pleasure of getting a hold of, so I was really excited when I recently found a pretty decent deal for these online. Not great, but they normally are like $60-$70 continuously, and I scored them for around $50, which is still a lot, but considering when you think about the fact that these are from Jurassic Park 3, that was released pretty long ago, so to be able to still get them for, you know, the entire line for a decent price is not half bad. So as always, let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at all of these right now. So the first one we are going to take a look at is a Pteranodon. There are actually two different Pteranodon in this set, and one of which is a very cool color scheme that I personally do not recognize. I don't know if there was a point in the film where maybe this color scheme kind of popped up, but I personally don't ever remember seeing it outside of this Kaiyodo line. But you can see again, for being a minifigure and of course being a Kaiyodo figure, it is really quite the spectacular Pteranodon. Like when you get nice and close and you check out the detail there in the face, the face looks fantastic. The detail all the way up into the beak is really quite incredible. And when you actually look at the eye paint, again, that is one tiny eye, but it includes variation of color. There is actually a red, a white, and then a black pupil in there, so they have gone the extra mile as far as the eye paint goes. We can obviously see an orange up there on the top with a black striping, and then as you move back here into the body, you have a really cool appearance for the wings, because primarily our Pteranodon is a very dark tone of black, and then you also have the white that kind of appears along the edges of the wings for the Pteranodon, and of course the detailing looks really nice as you move through the course of the entire figure. We have pretty much the same style of paintwork here for the underside, except we do have a really cool light gray following along from the throat down into the chest, kind of running out there into the wings a little bit, and then running down here toward the legs, but not quite reaching the legs. We've also got ourselves a pretty cool looking base, and what I really do like about these bases is the fact that they have the JP3 logo on them. Now the figures are, as far as I'm aware, not removable from the base. Yeah, it doesn't seem like they come off. But again, it does help, of course, to pose the Pteranodon. Like without the base, this one's not going to be doing much of anything. But they did give this a pretty cool dynamic appearance as it's flying along, kind of with a slant occurring to it. And it looks like we almost have like a slight explosion or something going on down here. Maybe a volcano erupting. I'm not sure, because it kind of looks like we have like some sort of fire or something flying up into the air, which again is a really cool idea. But the Pteranodon here is fantastic. Then we've also got, of course, a Velociraptor. Now this one you can see is meant to be the male. I don't know that I would say the coloration perfectly replicates a male Velociraptor from Jurassic Park 3, but they got pretty close as far as the overall gist of it. The raptor's just kind of standing here with its head turned toward its right. You have a little bit of like some reddish tones, like red oranges up here on the top of the crest and running along the spinal column. You do have the white stripe moving down through the course of the body. We've got like a red eye for the raptor, and you can see the teeth are all painted out in there, sculpted in there. You've got a pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth. They've even kind of captured the overall way that the paint looks as far as like that lighter tone running up there into the face a little bit. And then again, moving down, you can see detail-wise, like, it is a really nice looking figure. It absolutely sports some beautiful sculpt and detail considering its size. The nails are painted with a gray. You can see we've got like a black running over the hands. Same deal for the feet. Again, the nails painted with a gray down there. And then you have all of this patterning moving through with like stripes and stuff. This area here is a little interesting to me because it's not something I really recall on the Jurassic Park 3 Raptors, but outside of that, I think they've kind of replicated the coloration of the male. It's just that they've given it a lot more of the lighter tone than was needed for the figure, but it is still a really cool looking raptor figure. I love the fact that they got the quills in the back of the head and everything there for it, and again, it is as highly detailed as you are going to find when it comes to a minifigure. And again, we have a pretty decent base, nothing overly flashy, but we do have again that JP3 logo right there. And as far as having the Velociraptors, we have the male, but we of course have the female raptor as well. And you can see again, it looks very nice as far as the sculpt goes. Again, paintwork isn't what I would call absolutely picture perfect, but it does look pretty cool. And considering this is a mini and is very small, which as you can see when I kind of... What in the world? Apparently there is a dinosaur, some sort of a Mattel figure back here going nuts on my shelf, and I'm not even remotely close to that, so clearly either that dinosaur is alive or this place is haunted. But if you look at the overall size of this figure, again, the paintwork is crazy impressive considering how small this is, but that's not surprising considering it is a Kaiyodo release. If you get close to the head, again, you can see that the sculpt looks great. You've got all sorts of really nice variation to the skin detail as well as paintwork. The overall shape of the head and everything doesn't perfectly replicate a Jurassic Park 3 Raptor because it doesn't quite have the crests, but it doesn't look bad. Again, you have a very cool patterning moving through the body that sort of replicates the female, but not perfectly. However, it's not too far off. And again, you have like a black, and then they've applied some lighter grays within, so showing you how impressive the paintwork is on something this small. We again have the dark coloration for the hands, the gray nails and stuff. Similar looking base, sort of. And I like that the base is kind of translucent. You can see right there through it. We again have the JP3 logo. But again, a very cool looking raptor, nice looking poses for both. And if I actually bring the other one up here, you can see how cool the two of them look together. Again, really, really neat looking figures on the part of Kaiyodo. We've also got the Brachiosaurus. Now, our Brachiosaurus has a pretty interesting coloration. Again, not the type of color you would have seen in Jurassic Park 3. And in fact, the Brachiosaurus from Jurassic Park 3 has a fan favorite kind of iconic paint scheme, whereas this one just basically has a dark tone running along the back and then kind of like a light yellowish brown for the body color, a little bit of a lighter tone on the underside. So the coloration doesn't quite replicate what you see in Jurassic Park 3, but it is still a pretty darn nicely sculpted figure, again, considering its size. And the head sculpt does look a little goofy, but the eyes are painted nicely. But considering its size, again, when you run through and look at the actual skin texture, the musculature and everything, it is a very impressive sculpt. Like, I could actually repaint this, I think. Well, I wouldn't do that because I don't want to alter something that I spent so long wanting to get into my collection. But if I were to repaint this, I feel like it would replicate the JP Brachiosaurus pretty nicely. And overall, again, is a very nice looking figure. Again, with a nice looking base, with the translucent look like the others have had. The Jurassic Park 3 logo, I like that this one kind of has like a tree, like a tree stump coming up, showing that the Brachiosaurus, I guess, is in a wooded area feeding. Again, the head sculpt is a little bit iffy. Kind of looks like the Brachiosaurus, but he looks like he's smiling, so he has a bit of an awkward appearance to him. But it is still, again, a pretty cool figure. Not one of my favorites from this line, but still cool. We've also got the Compsognathus. This one is really fun because compies always get overlooked by everyone. Rarely do they ever get an actual decent looking figure, but the compy really did get its due in this line. You can see it looks excellent as far as the sculpt goes. It's also got some really nice paint. You can see the eyes are painted very nicely. We've got the teeth painted there on the inside of the mouth. We have a nice vibrant green moving through the majority of the body with a lighter green as you move down. And again, the detail looks really nice everywhere. The hands are a little jumbled as far as the fingers go, but considering it's so small, it's not that shocking to me. We do have a striping effect moving down from the back. It could have run down through the neck, would have made it look a little bit more screen accurate, but we do still have that striping, and that striping does run all the way out onto the tail. The only thing I'm not a big fan of when it comes to this one is how ridiculously curled the tail is, because I don't think a compy could even achieve that movement. It looks like it would have broken the tail completely. So I guess maybe this is a compy with a broken tail. But it does look really cool outside of that. And again, the paintwork is so nicely done for something so small. And again, we've got a nice base with, again, that translucent sort of a look, the JP3 logo. And I really feel like that JP3 logo just completes the overall figure so nicely. It just complements it. I'm always a big fan of stuff like that. Like, you know, of course, the old JP stamp on figures. And in this case, having a JP3 logo right there, telling you exactly what film you're trying to replicate. So the compy is also a beautiful figure. We also have the Triceratops, and the Triceratops is a little questionable as far as the length of the legs. The legs are super long for some reason, making the Triceratops look almost sick. It kind of looks like it's maybe a little bit starved. It has a very, very thin look to it, but they've kind of replicated a Jurassic Park style Triceratops as well as the paintwork. We even have those osteoderms moving here along the course of the figure, and they are all painted, which is, I think, very impressive. It's actually quite overall crazy to see that they've gone ahead and painted out each and every one of those osteoderms, and you can see the detailing in the head looks quite nice. The face includes some nice sculpt and detail and paintwork. We've got a gray for the beak. The eyes are painted pretty nicely. The horns are also painted nicely. Same deal with the spikes running along the course of the frill. And you can see a little variation of color as they've added some darker tones up there in the frill. We even have kind of like some spots and stuff as we move back through the course of the body. The nails are painted with a gray, and you have a darker tone moving along the back of the Triceratops. Not a whole lot going on as far as this one goes. Kind of looks like maybe it's about to kick some dirt to sort of show that it's about to attack, if you ask me, but still a pretty cool one. Then we have a Parasaurolophus, and the Parasaurolophus is absolutely gorgeous. Again, not perfectly replicating the coloration of a Jurassic Park style Parasaurolophus, but maybe this color was included in the film in Jurassic Park 3, because I don't really remember. I didn't pay too much attention when they run out into the field with all the hadrosaurs exactly what all the colors were for them. So it's possible that this color scheme did in fact appear in the film and I just didn't notice it. But you can see the head sculpt is very nicely done. It definitely looks like a Jurassic style Parasaurolophus. The mouth is open. They've even painted the inside of the mouth with a pinkish tone. The eyes are painted really nicely. If my camera would focus on it, there you go. You've got a brown for the crest. You also can see that we have a brown running down and kind of striping through the course of the figure all the way down here. You can see some striping leading in from the back of the thigh, which is very much so similar to the way that the Parasaurolophus appears in most of Jurassic films. Just the shades of color are a little bit different on this. You have the striping moving back, and again, look at how crazy impressive the fine detail is of this Parasaurolophus. This might be the nicest sculpted figure in the line overall when it comes to the skin texture and fine detail. Like, this would be a phenomenal release at a regular, in like a 1/35th scale size range, but the fact that it's so small just makes this one of the single most impressive minifigures that I have ever seen in my entire life. And again, the translucent base kind of looks like it's standing in like a, yeah, definitely has like a water effect down here, like a muddy sort of a swampy area. But that is a gorgeous Parasaurolophus. Then we have yet another Pteranodon, this time sporting the Jurassic Park 3 colors for sure. You can see the head sculpt looks very nice. Again, all of the coloration you would expect to see on a JP3 version is present on this, even the coloration of the wings. And look at how nicely applied that paint is, considering how small this Pteranodon is. Like, that is crazy impressive paintwork with how smooth and naturalistic it looks. The figure does have a strong scent and shine, and a lot of them do, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it just kind of gives this Pteranodon the look of being wet, kind of, and considering it looks like it's diving down to potentially grab something from some water, you know, the wet look isn't that big of a deal. But when you look at it from up above, again, the detail looks absolutely incredible on something like this. And look at all of the paintwork on the underside. Again, they did not skimp out anywhere. The other one, the first Pteranodon, had, you know, some nice coloration to it, but this one just has tons and tons of color. I don't think we really need to go over the sculpt or anything of this one because obviously they're going to be very similar. We basically just wanted to check out what the paintwork looks like. It isn't the exact same sculpt. It's obviously positioned differently. The very first Pteranodon that we had taken a look at is soaring like this, whereas this one is kind of soaring down, again, looking like it's about to lunge into the water or something. But the Pteranodons in this set are awesome. And of course, we've got a T-Rex. And you can see the T-Rex also looks so good. And it's obviously a male Rex, as we have that male sort of coloration. If they would have just given this a yellow running down the back as opposed to a light green, it would have been super, super cool. But again, you can see the head sculpt looks quite nice. You've got the teeth painted out. You have some variations of greens included here in the face. Quite a few different variations of greens. You have the striping effect moving down along the course of the back. And this is actually almost like, I would say, an iconic pose for the Jurassic Park 3 T-Rex. So I love the fact that they chose this pose for the figure. I think that was a really nice touch as well. The toes, I think, are spread a little bit too far apart. They look a little weird, but overall you can see the detail looks great on both sides. All of the patterning and everything looks nice and natural and smooth. Striping running down the course of the legs. You can see, again, the greens on this look pretty nice. The skin detail is very impressive, even though I would say the greens aren't quite the tone of green that we would see for a male Rex, but it still looks pretty cool. You have a nice curve in the tail. So again, an absolutely incredible figure. When it comes to a mini, like, they really don't get much better than this. We've also got a Stegosaurus, and yes, it definitely has that Lost World Jurassic Park kind of look to it, but you can see this one as well. Again, sports some nice variation of color. You've got greens, you have lighter tones. I can even see brownish tones picking up. The skin texture also looks quite nice. We've got the nails painted down there. You can see the eyes are painted with just a black, but that's really about all that they need, I think. And again, overall, they have definitely captured the likeness of a Jurassic-style Stegosaurus, I think, pretty decently, and they've done a great job of applying the paintwork, again, so smoothly with variations, like subtle variations of color. You can see the thagomizers out there on the tail, and even up here in the plates, you can see that they've added in some variation of color. If my camera would just focus on it, they've added in variations of color with different browns, and even like striping some of the plates, some of the detail of the plates out, it looks like, with a darker tone. So the Stegosaurus, again, is also quite nice. I wouldn't say it's one of the best of the set, but still really nice. Even have ourselves a Pachycephalosaurus, and the Pachy also looks really cool. Again, the detail is unreal on these minis. The dome, I think, should have been painted. I think that's one of the only things really missing on the Pachy, but they have kind of captured the likeness of a Jurassic-style Pachycephalosaurus pretty nicely, especially when it comes to the paint. Maybe a little bit too dark as far as the, you know, coloration up here on the back that moves through the body. They should have given it maybe a little bit of a lighter variation of like a blue-green, but it still looks pretty cool. Nothing too crazy going on as far as the pose. It's just kind of standing here. And you can see, again, the nails are painted. Nice scoots running down the toes. Very cool translucent base like they've all had. The bumps and everything moving along the head are also painted out. A little bit thick as far as that paintwork goes, but it still doesn't look bad, especially, again, considering its size. That is a crazy, crazy small figure. I'm honestly going to go ahead and say that these are probably the best Jurassic minifigures I've ever seen, which is impressive to say because I normally would say the captives are, but I don't know that anybody can actually touch these. Then we've also got the Spinosaurus skull, and this was like that special one that was included. You can see that the skull looks really nice. It's definitely got an overall beautiful sculpt, very highly detailed, and some nice looking paintwork, as again I would expect no less for these Kaiyodo figures. But this one isn't really the most amazing addition, but it is pretty cool to see the Spinosaurus skull with the JP3 logo and stuff like that, and again, even cooler in minifigure form. There's not much of anything too crazy going on with it, but it is nice. And of course, what would Jurassic Park 3 be without the Spinosaurus? And you can see the Spino also looks pretty nice. I feel like the head sculpt looks a little weird on this one. I don't know what it is, but something just looks a little off compared to the others. I think for the most part, a lot of the others had pretty, screen accurate head sculpts, kind of, not perfect, but this one looks a little more off than most of the others. But you can see the paintwork again is quite impressive. There's a lot to it. Very nice slight variations of color. They've even captured that light stripe moving down, as well as the paint kind of running off here from that stripe, even though it's not what I would call perfect. The sail looks nice, but they didn't really get the coloration for it. But the Spino has a pretty intricate paint scheme to it, so it's not that surprising that they didn't capture that area all that perfectly. Again, as you move through, the fine detail looks quite nice. You again have the nails painted, the JP3 logo right there. The tail leads out here with a nice curve. It is a pretty decent interpretation of the JP3 Spino, but again, it's not perfect. I feel like they really should have made this one perfect because it is the star of Jurassic Park 3. So giving us the best possible minifigure for that Dinosaur would have been a nice choice, and I would say this is probably one of the least appealing when it comes to this set overall, but it is still a really cool figure, and the entire line here honestly is awesome. Now again, being minis, these are really quite small overall. The tallest would probably be the Pteranodon, the tip of the wing right there at about 2¼ inches or just shy of 6 centimeters. The Brachiosaurus as well is pretty tall. Actually, that one's a little bit taller. Didn't look like it, but it's just shy of 2½ inches or a little over 6 centimeters. But you can see they are very small overall. I don't feel like measuring each and every one is going to be a great idea here, so we're just going to jump to a size comparison. So there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Kaiyodo Jurassic Park 3 figures, and you can see they are extremely small. As I had mentioned numerous times, they are definitely very, very small, but crazy impressive when it comes to both the detailing and paintwork. And then for one more comparison, you can see a Mattel minifigure Parasaurolophus on the right and a Captives minifigure Triceratops on the left next to our Kaiyodo figures. And you can see, again, they are even smaller than all of these other minis that are out. So that continues to show you, again, how crazy impressive these are. But if you do happen to already have any Kaiyodo minis in your collection, you're going to very much so have a very good idea of the size because they're pretty much in your standard Kaiyodo size range. So these Jurassic Park 3 Kaiyodo minifigures are awesome. And as I said, I would say the best minis that are out when it comes to the Jurassic franchise that I've ever seen. And, I would normally say the Captives are, and they really are very close when it comes to the overall quality, if you ask me. But the figures here just have so much incredible paintwork, so much incredible fine detail, and the fact that they are so small, even smaller than your average minifigure from the Captives line, I think just makes these a little bit more impressive. Each and every figure here, again, is really well done as a whole. Do all of them perfectly replicate the dinosaurs they are meant to replicate? Not exactly. Some areas are off, like the head of the Spinosaurus, the fact that the female raptor doesn't quite have the crests that it should, even though the male actually does, but the female for some reason doesn't. The Compy having its tail sort of like broken looking, the head of the male Rex being off a little bit. Just minor things for most of them, I would say, are off slightly, and of course the Triceratops looking quite sickly. But overall, they do nicely for the most part, again, replicate the dinosaurs that they are meant to replicate. Same deal with the paint jobs, but I think the most impressive aspect of these figures is the fine detail. Considering their size, and it's something that's, pretty common with Kaiyodo, they are as highly detailed as you are going to find for a dinosaur figure, which in my opinion makes them crazy, crazy impressive. And I also love the fact that they have bases and everything for them, especially the ones that include the translucent bases because they just look so neat. But overall, absolutely a huge recommendation from me. I feel like if you are a Jurassic fan, you really need to have these in your collection. So I will try to add a link to the description where you can purchase these. I'll try to find the cheapest link I can on eBay because these are often pretty expensive. But again, eBay is actually the only place I know of you can purchase them. And considering they were released for Jurassic Park 3, that's not exactly a surprise. I wouldn't expect any retail stores to still have these available. So make sure you check the link, grab these if you want them, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.